is your matchup on this second Sunday of the season, September 18th, 2011. I wish I could do that.
Yeah, you and I both.
Owen Kreutz, 13 years as a Chicago Bear, now taking on his former team, and he's been spilling secrets all week long. To Greg Williams in the defense of the Saints. Urlacher is set to go, and the Chicago Bears won the toss, and that means we get to see Devin Hester maybe. 50% of the kickoffs opening weekend were touchbacks. Morstead will kick it away, and right out of the back of the end zone. So, Mr. Aikman, you liked what you saw last week from the Chicago offense with Jay Cutler. He was good enough in a win at home over Atlanta.
Yeah, and I think it all starts really up front with the job that those guys did. Even though he was still sacked 5 times, a shuffling up the deck, if you will. If you think back to last week, Joe, this offensive line had a number of different combinations through the first half of the season before settling in the second half. Well, now here in the second week, they're already on their second offensive line combination this year.
And they start with a run. Forte goes nowhere. Maybe falls forward for a yard. Jolon Dunbar made the stop, and that change up front, by the way, is Lance Lewis out at right guard. Spencer starting. Here's a look at the Saints defensively with their 4-3, and there's the secondary there without Tracy Porter out with a bad calf, inactive today. 2nd and 9. Cutler looking for somewhere to get rid of it, and he just threw it in the direction of Spaeth. And a lot of pressure by Jonathan Casillas, and that's what Casillas does best.
Yeah, Casillas does a good job when he brings pressure. He's trying to hit Devin Hester here on the square, and just really good coverage. They went with a 2-man route to that side. Try to block it up as best they can. But because there was nowhere to go with the football, you see Cutler, he has to hold on to it in the pocket and takes a pretty good shot because of it.
He's used to that. More pressure. Cutler off his back foot, just happy to unload it. And it's 3 and out, and this defense just made an early statement here against Chicago.
Well, they did, and we talked about it coming into this game, that there is pressure on the Saints. All these teams around the league that are 0-1, opening up here at home, needing a win. But more pressure on this defensive unit. They have not played well. They did not play particularly well last week against the Packers. That's understandable because of the explosion of that group. But come out here the first defensive series and force a 3 and outs. Good job.
Bears had 5 3-and-outs last week against Atlanta. And Sproles, who had that great debut last week, including a 72-yard touchdown return on a punt against Green Bay, calls for a fair catch and hauls it in at the 35. And now we'll look at this Saints offense, and one of the best. And a Super Bowl MVP, Drew Brees, leads his team out onto the field. They're the backs and receivers. They're without Marcus Colston now with a broken collarbone. They have guys that can fill in. The question might be Troy out at right tackle, Zach Stree, first year as the starter, how he will hold up and who he will face the majority of the day.
Well, he's hoping that it's not Julius Peppers, but it is right here.
They already switched him over to that side, and Brees throws it away in the direction of Lance Moore. And now the defense, which allowed Atlanta 386 yards, but not many points, just 12. They play a 4-3. There's Urlacher in the middle. And the secondary is without Chris Harris, out with a bad hamstring on the inactive list, and that means Brandon Merriweather, 2-time Pro Bowler with a New England Patriots gets his first Chicago start. 2nd and 10. Screen for Jimmy Graham. And the big tight end is knocked down. A good play by Major Wright, a gain of just 3.
This Jimmy Graham is an interesting player. He only had 1 year of football in college. He was a basketball player at the University of Miami, 3rd round pick. And in talking with Sean Payton, you know, he really feels that when you look back on that draft, this is going to be one of the all-time steals of that draft class. And Drew Brees even said, hey, this guy can be as good as anyone who's ever played the game. He's got that kind of ability.
Brees was phenomenal on 3rd down last week, and he will not get a conversion here. A yard shy as he dumped it off to Sproles, and Darren trying to pick his way. Merriweather getting that first start made the stop, and it's 3 and out on the other side.
Well, Merriweather came up and made the initial contact. Urlacher finishes him off. I think just with Merriweather, he may in fact pick up that first down, but Brian Urlacher, playing the middle of the field, comes up aggressively and makes one nice stop.
So how good is Morstead at keeping it away from Devin Hester? Inside the 20. Good coverage, and he lost it. Out of bounds. It'll stay with Chicago. Great coverage downfield. And Hester, always looking to hit a home run, coughs it up. Connie knocked it out of bounds, and Chicago. 2nd go at it for Chicago. It's Matt Forte over the right side, cuts upfield, and has a huge run into Saints territory, knocked down at the 46. 42-yard scamper. Jenkins on the stop, and the guy looking for a new contract just made his mark.
Kellen Davis, number 87. He's really good at the end of the line blocking. You see, he's able to establish the edge, and then you've got the pulling guard who's coming around and does a nice job as well and establishes that running lane for Matt Forte. Coming off one heck of a game last week, and a nice run on that play.
This for Forte, his 50th NFL game. Cutler's yelling at the young fullback Klutz. It went the wrong way. Nice play in the backfield by Dunbar, as Forte is dropped for a loss of 4.
You know, you can make those kind of plays when nobody blocks you. Yeah, he just completely turned him loose. Now, what the Bears would like to do, we're seeing a lot of shifting, a lot of movement, which is something that's a staple of the Mike March's offenses no matter where he's been. But against the Saints here today, they feel they can create some confusion with this defense in their run fits. They're doing a lot of shifts, not so much for the passing game, but more to help them within the running game.
Empty backfield, and Cutler is in trouble again. Slings it to Forte. Nice play by Jay Cutler, and Matt Forte just does not go down. Nice catch and run. Great effort on the run part, and a gain of 17 and a Bear first down.
Actually pretty good protection here up front. You're going to see a pocket, no pressure in the middle, but you know, Cutler has a tendency when he doesn't see exactly what he wants or where to go with the ball, he'll then escape out of the pocket. He didn't necessarily have to move as quickly as he did. His movement actually made protection look a little worse than it was, but a good job of improvising there and finding Forte on the completion.
Missed tackle by Patrick Robinson. And Forte got the first down. Now Cutler needs a timeout. Talk about Cutler's toughness when we come back. Bears on the move, no score here in New Orleans.
Go.
Jay Cutler, who was under siege last year when he checked out of the NFC Championship game with that knee sprain, which is actually a tear. Nobody was hit more across the NFL last year than Jay Cutler. He gets pounded and keeps getting up. Trying to set up a screen for Hester. It's not there, as it was well played by the Saints defense Troy Cutler was sacked 52 times last year, the most of any quarterback across the NFL, and 92 times since he came to Chicago since 2009. And I think if you maybe can question a lot of things about Cutler, to me toughness is not even on the list.
Well, if you're going to play quarterback under Mike Martz, you better have some toughness. You can ask Kurt Warner about that. I mean, year in and year out, whoever's under center in a Mike Martz coached offense is taking a pretty good licking.
They just shifted out of the Wildcat. Back to a normal setup and a quick throw for Bennett, who ends up losing the ball, but after the play was over and a gain of 9. And now they're going to maybe, let's see the hit, and they are right now calling this a catch. The ball came out at the end, and Bennett is slow to get up.
He takes a helmet right to the chest.
That is a catch. It is a 9-yard gain. And they look at Bennett. 3rd and 1 when we come back. It is 3rd down and 1.
We'll look to go to the right side of the offensive line with this.
Cutler moves out to his right, hits a fullback who was wide open. And Klutz, the fullback, picks up 11 yards and a Chicago 1st down.
Look at that previous play. Jay Cutler's going to line up out here, and then initially you think, okay, maybe a wildcat set. You see all of the different offensive players moving. Look what it does to the defense and the communication that has to take place on that side of the ball. And that's the confusion that Mike Martz wants to create. At a time and an era when defenses are trying to confuse offenses, Greg Williams being one of those defensive coordinators, Mike Martz creating a little confusion of his own.
That was the first NFL catch for Tyler Klutz. A little late on the snap, and Cutler's under pressure, and he just throws it away as Cameron Jordan, the rookie, was on his back. And now the official and our referee, Walt Coleman, will talk it over to see where they're going to place the ball. Cameron Jordan.
Well, and it shouldn't have even been that close, Joe. I mean, Jay Cutler well outside the pocket. I mean, the ball should have come out before there was even contact made.
And they are going to say grounding.
Intentional grounding, number 6 on the offense. Loss of down, 10-yard penalty. The ball did not get back to the previous spot. 2nd down.
You can be outside the tackle box, but you have to get the ball back to the line of scrimmage. And it was short. It just headed straight out of bounds.
Well, coverage was there from the time that Jay Cutler had the ball and came outside the pocket. And I mean, he has to get rid of that ball and not even he didn't even have to take a hit right there. I mean, that's just not very smart football by Jay Cutler.
2nd down and 22. Cutler dumps it off, and they're going to throw a flag on Shanley, who was on the back of Sanzenbacher, the rookie.
Holding, number 58, defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
They call this a jerk route. You're going to see he starts to the middle, hooks up as though he's going to stop right there, and then as soon as Shanley picks him up in coverage, then he takes off again and tries to create some separation. Cutler, I don't know if he thought that maybe he could have made a better throw. I think that once Shanley got a hold of him, there really was nowhere to go. But a nice break there for the Chicago Bears, because that was going to be a pretty lengthy field goal attempt if they had tried it.
Would have brought up a 3rd and 22. Instead, they get the automatic 1st down on a defensive hold. For now, they place the ball inside the 20 of the 19, but the officials talk it over. And they are satisfied the ball is where it should be, and Cutler already has his team at the line. For 10. Big run on this drive takes it to the 15. Mitch King is there for the stop. Charleston out there as well, and a gain of 4.
You know, we talk about this offensive line and some of the changes that have been made. A much different look this year for Chicago Bears fans with Roberto Garza playing center. Of course, he takes over for Olin Kreutz, who was a mainstay here for a long time. And you know, he had to make that change. There's Olin Kreutz with the New Orleans Saints. They're happy to have him in New Orleans. I know that. But Roberto Garza has made the transition from guard to center pretty well and has done a nice job.
Here is Forte. Forte gets back to the line of scrimmage. Jolon Dunbar is there to make the stop. He's been busy already, and this is before the game. There's Garza on the right. And a little salute from Olin Kreutz, who has already been named the captain of the Saints. That happened during camp.
Well, and I can tell you, in visiting with players and coaches within that Bears organization, there's not a man in that locker room that wanted to see him leave. He's a very well-respected player within the organization. I'd say he's one of the most respected players in the entire NFL.
Actually took less money to come to New Orleans. And a timeout is taken by Chicago. It'll be third down for the Bears when we come back. This for Jay Cutler, his first time playing in the Superdome, dealing with the noise. Chris Williams was trying to tie his shoelace, couldn't do it in time. They had to use their second timeout. And it's 3rd and 6. Empty backfield. Cutler gets hit and the pass incomplete. But a flag is down for the hit from Roman Harper.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 41, defense. Drove the quarterback several yards back and then dumped him to the ground. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Now Roman Harper comes off that offensive left side and Cutler doesn't see him coming, and I don't know about that one.
I think that's a terrible ball.
Here's Harper here. He hits him up high and then he goes to the ground. I didn't think that he drove him to the ground or anything else. I don't agree. But on the outside here to Sanzenbacher, you know, Jay Cutler, if he sees it right away, they overloaded one side, nobody in the middle of the field. He had one-on-one on him, and Sanzenbacher did a nice job running the route, winning on the route. But he should have gone to him right away, probably a walk-in for a touchdown. But I don't think that was a penalty on Roman Harper.
I don't either. I think that's a terrible call, and it continues this drive. Forte goes nowhere.
Well, that's 2 penalties now on this drive. Shanley that kept the drive going on the 3rd down, and then this last one on Roman Harper. But I know there's protection of the quarterback right there. Contact is good. Head is up. The helmet is to the shoulder. And, you know, I don't think you just hit the quarterback and then stop. I mean, you got to finish the play. And I didn't think that he was overboard in taking him to the ground. I think that that's the way you would coach it up.
Play action, Cutler wide open, Sanzenbacher, and he has his first NFL touchdown. And a drive that was aided by a couple of Saints defensive penalties ends in a touchdown. Sanzenbacher was left absolutely wide open.
Yeah, and you're going to see Vilma here. He gets caught looking inside. So Sanzenbacher is going to come in behind him off the play action. You see Sanzenbacher goes right by him. It's just very difficult down there to play both play action and or play the run and then play run action pass.
So now Gold to make it 7-0 Chicago, and he does. So the Bears aided by a couple of penalties. Jay Cutler throws his 3rd touchdown pass of the season. He's pumped up. So are the 1-0 Bears, up 7-0. There is Roman Harper, who was guilty of too much of a hit on Jay Cutler, which helped the Bears convert on a 3rd down, and Chicago took advantage. And this from the foot of Gold drives Sproles out the back of the end zone. So the Saints down 7 will start at their 20. Here's that hit and the penalty.
You know, defensively you do everything right, and Greg Williams dials up a blitz, brings Roman Harper. He does a nice job, and you know that's tough. And what they're saying is that Roman Harper landed on him with his full weight of his body, and I don't know. I don't know how you avoid that.
So here is Drew Brees, second time with the ball, and out of the backfield it's Sproles. Picks up 6. Urlacher on the stop. This Bears defense has not allowed a touchdown so far in 14 possessions, and if there's one team that should change that, it would be the Saints and what they can do offensively as you look at the drive put together by Chicago. Saints have yet to run it. And it's their 5th straight pass, and it's their first down as Sproles takes it across the 35.
Well, Peppers this time lines up against Jermon Bushrod, the left tackle, and to throw that pass, that's what you've got to do. You've got to go low, and down the road of this game, that will help Bushrod against Peppers, because Peppers then won't know if he's going to block him standing up or if he's going to go down. No defensive end rusher likes it when an offensive lineman goes low on their legs.
Rolling to his right, pass caught by Meacham out of the hand of Drew Brees, and it's a minimal gain of just 2. And we'll go for a game break. Here's Kurt Menefee.
Well, the Cam Newton train keeps on rolling. Opening drive against the Packers. 3-yard touchdown pass to Brandon LaFowl on the opening drive. Newton 6 for 7, 90 yards and a touchdown. They lead 10-0 in the first quarter. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
You know, I said this week, Joe, if Cam Newton does to the Packers what he did last week, I'm voting him for the Hall of Fame. I mean, that would be like the greatest start in the history of quarterbacks.
Here is an end around. Meacham gets the ball and carries it a yard shy of a first down, and now the crowd here looking for a flag for a hit out of bounds. They don't get it.
Yeah, I'm not so sure they shouldn't have gotten that. You see again Sean Payton arguing his case. I mean, he's out there. Couldn't tell if there was any, they're engaged as they're going out of bounds. Right here at the end, there's got to be some way to let up, and I don't know if there was a push there at the end of that or not, but it looked to me from here like it was a little more physical than it needed to be.
The Illinois native, Sean Payton, who is 0-3 against Chicago in his time down here in New Orleans. He's still hot.
Yeah, he's saying that's unacceptable.
And they're going to call a timeout just so Payton can let the referee, Walt Coleman, hear a little more.
Well, and he's still a little hot, remember, from the penalty that was called on Roman Harper that allowed the Bears to then go in and get a touchdown, and then to have that happen right on his sideline with the official there to observe it and get no call. I understand his frustration and his anger.
He's already lost Marcus Colston, and now he's upset with this that happened out of bounds as Meacham, who had 5 catches in the opener, ended up on the turf and by the bench. And this crowd now is getting into it, and this is more, I think, the result of the call that went the other way on the hit by Roman Harper.
Yeah, and for those that don't know Sean Payton, I mean, he's one of the nicest, easygoing guys that we talk to getting ready for a game. But I can tell you, he's also one of the most intense individuals on game day.
Mentioned he's 0-3 in his career against Chicago, and Chicago's a team he played for as a replacement player, and he gave Walt Coleman what Mike Ditka gave him on the sideline during that season when Sean Payton, who played at Eastern Illinois University, was playing for the Bears.
He's still giving it to him.
And they ended up moving the ball forward during the spot. That was odd, but here's 1987 as a replacement player, and he's given him the Jim Harbaugh speech over on the sideline. Ditka is.
Well, you can put just about any quarterback in that position that played for Mike Ditka. I was talking to Sean Payton, and he said he ran into Coach Ditka last year, and he said, I just want to thank you for getting me on with my life's work, knowing that he was not going to be a quarterback any longer. But you're right, whether it's whether it's Sean Payton, of course, Jim Harbaugh, and look at the coach that he's turned out to be.
Gotta tell you, that was odd. During the timeout, the ball, which was a yard short of the first down, somehow ends up well in front of the marker for a first down for the Saints.
That's the Payton factor.
And the first carry of the day belongs to Mark Ingram. Former Heisman Trophy winner at Alabama picks up 2. Urlacher and Merriweather in on the tackle.
You know, speaking of Mark Ingram, you know, watching him last week in that Packers game, you know, his first NFL game, I thought he really ran the ball well. And as I was watching him, Joe, he reminded me of the guy that I used to play with, in Emmitt Smith. You know, he's built a lot like him, low to the ground, very powerful. The only difference really that I have seen is he's got more speed than what Emmitt has. He has that breakaway speed, but a talented guy.
Question is, can he dance like Emmitt Smith? Pierre Thomas takes it to midfield. Did you know that for 4 weeks I will leave your side, Troy, and go back to the baseball side, and that will begin when the ALCS starts right here on Fox. Yankees, Tigers, now you add Tampa Bay to the mix. What's going on in that weekend series at Fenway, and then the Rangers lead out west. They lead the Angels by a few, and that starts on October 8th. High def only on Fox.
I did know you were leaving. How soon is it going to happen?
You get 2 more after today. 3rd down and 6. This one dropped off for a first down to Henderson as Devery is spun out of bounds with a gain of 12.
You know, we've talked about Julius Peppers and the fact that he's going to play one side, then go to the other side, and Zach Strief not getting any help. You know, and when you don't get help on the outside against Julius Peppers, then as the quarterback, you've got to know you can't hold on to the ball very long, and you're not taking deep sets, and Drew Brees did not. And he got the ball out pretty quickly, and that's the key.
Bears defense likes to get pressure with just 4. They don't blitz a lot. They rotate a lot up front. Peppers is out. Pierre Thomas carries it and takes it inside the 30. A nice hard run and a gain of 8. They're going to mark his knee down at the 30, so 2nd and 2.
You know, this New Orleans Saints running game really for the last couple of years has been a running by committee. And they've had to rely on a lot of different people. Pierre Thomas last year was banged up and, you know, didn't have as many carries as what he had the year before. And, you know, so far in the early going, it would look like that with Sproles and Pierre Thomas, and then of course Mark Ingram. I think as this season moves along, we're going to see a lot more of Mark Ingram.
Here's a toss to Sproles. First down and more. Wrestled down inside the 25 by Briggs.
Well, Darren Sproles is just such a huge weapon. I mean, how many times going back to his days with the San Diego Chargers have you seen when the ball's in his hands and just good things happen, you know? And he's not a very big guy, but he's got unbelievable quickness and speed. And then he replaces Reggie Bush. And I think in a lot of ways, you know, he's a more instinctive runner than what Reggie Bush is. But I think he gives them a little bit more juice than what Reggie did, certainly, you know, here after just a game and now a quarter.
10th play of the drive. Quick throw, Lance Moore. And after missing on his first pass, Drew Brees has gone 8 for 8. And that was good for 7.
Yeah, and Drew talked about it the other day. You know, I mean, this Bears defense, unlike a lot of defenses around the league, they don't confuse you. They line up in what they're going to do. You know how they're going to line up. They just play against giving up the big play. So he's got to be very methodical, very patient, and he has shown that here on this drive.
This one for Sproles. The intended target was Lance Moore. He was covered. Then underneath, Sproles gets 2.
That was a good concept right there because they roll out Sproles. Initially, they want to try to get it to him, but they're doing it off of a move to where they can get the ball down the field to Lance Moore. The Bears actually did a good job defensively of covering it up.
Under a minute to play, opening quarter. Only 1 touchdown and 5 red zone possessions last week, something that really bothered Brees. This one for Graham is out of his reach, a spinning try. And with 27 seconds left, it'll be 4th down.
And we saw him working on this route with Jimmy Graham on Friday at practice, and that was a nice route. Jimmy Graham is one of those tight ends, like I was talking about, that they can do a lot of different things with, and they match him up in the red zone. He's a big target. He runs a nice route. That was a ball that Brees probably would have liked to have had back.
32-yard try by Casey. He was 2 for 2 last week and fills in for the injured Garrett Hartley, who should miss about the first 4 weeks for the bad hip, and Casey has been one of the best. Drills it through. It's a 7-3 game. And now we welcome you inside our broadcast booth. What just happened, I think it bears repeating. That's what Chicago does defensively. You have to put on a long, sustained drive, and this time the Bears defense holds inside the red zone.
Yeah, their philosophy is that as long as they don't give up a big play, that the offense at some point in that drive is going to make a mistake that keeps them from coming away with a touchdown. Right there, yeah, they methodically went down the field, but then they held on 3rd and short, which, you know, for Saints fans, you think back to that game last week against the Packers, you know, at the end of the game, and they had some problems converting some of those situations. A little different design here with the pass to Jimmy Graham, but that's got to be a little bit of a concern for the Saints on some of these short yardage situations, not having the confidence of being able to run it right there to pick up that 1st down.
So it is, in the end, a 13-play drive. Brees with 1 incompletion that just happened to come on 3rd and short to force the 32-yard field goal by Casey, and now Devin Hester is waiting for the kick from Morstead. In case you care, they officially change it to a 31-yard field goal by Casey, and we'll get a chance to see Hester. Just tripped up. That was awfully close to Devin Hester breaking it as Lee Torrance got his hands on the feet of number 23.
Well, that was almost a huge mistake by Lee Torrance, because he was the guy who had outside contain. I mean, he had to turn that back in, and he got caught inside. You see him being talked to right there. I mean, had Hester have been able to get past him, it would have been real interesting as to what happened then on the rest of that play.
There were 3 kick returns for touchdowns in week 1. Hester has 14 in his career total. All-time number 1 in the NFL as Forte will end this first quarter with an 8-yard run. Bring up 2nd and 2, and the Bears have the lead on the road in New Orleans, 7-3 after 1. Fox NFL Sunday will return after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. Good one starting out. Here 9 and 2, and a lot of shifting prior to the snap. And Matt Forte loses yardage. Nice play is made by Mitch King. Loss of 1, 3rd down coming up as we look at first quarter stats. I don't know if people realize, Troy, just how good Matt Forte is. But as he's playing in his 50th NFL game, he is just under 100 scrimmage yards per game in his NFL career, which is number 2 on the Bears all-time list to the great Walter Payton.
I thought Marshall Faulk made a good point this week when he started talking about the all-time great running backs. They always point out just the runners and not the all-purpose guys, and Matt Forte is certainly one of those types.
Marshall Faulk may have been the best ever at that. Here is a pass broken up, and a nice play is made by Jabari Greer as he got in front of Johnny Knox. And that forces a punt.
Yeah, you see that the Saints are locked up in man coverage. A good route against man coverage. You've got to be able to get separation. Knox has the speed to do that, but you've got to lean on that upfield shoulder and then break away, and that's how you create separation. He didn't give that to Jay Cutler. Nowhere to really go with the ball on that one.
So the punt coming. With Sproles waiting from inside the 25. Nice play. Good tackle is made by Craig Steltz. That may have saved a big return. Here is Drew Brees, and we do it then and now and look at Bobby Hebert. He was born in Louisiana and the first quarterback to lead the Saints to the playoffs, and now Hebert spends his nights doing sports talk locally here on WWL. And he does a very popular segment here in town, quarterback to quarterback with Drew Brees once a week, and I was surprised to see that Hebert, Troy, actually to this point has a better winning percentage than Brees here with the Saints.
And when you told me that, I was shocked. I mean, that's remarkable because all Brees has done here since '06 is win.
The other side of it is Sproles picks up just 3. Is that Brees is about to become the first Saints quarterback ever to win 50 games. Both he and Hebert with 49 wins at the controls here with New Orleans.
Well, when I say Drew Brees, all he has done is won, you know, what that means then is that's pretty much all Bobby Hebert did too. And he was the quarterback of the Saints when I came into the league. In fact, my first NFL start was here at the Superdome. And those were some awfully good teams here in New Orleans, and he was a heck of a quarterback.
And a lot of even casual fans can remember those great linebackers that they had here with the Saints. Swilling, Ricky Jackson, Vaughn Johnson, Sam Mills, and in the backfield, Brees is sacked by Donijay. A loss of 5 in this offense for the Saints. Coming off that long drive, 13-play drive, now is faced with 3rd down and 12.
It's a nice move by Donijay. We've been talking about Zach Strief having to go up against Julius Peppers, and I don't know, maybe he thought that this was a little bit easier assignment on that last play, but Donijay got him up the field, came underneath, and really just a textbook pass rush by Donijay for the sack.
Bears had 5 sacks last week. Donijay now gets his first. Brees going to air it out. Devery Henderson. Wow. Devery Henderson, touchdown, New Orleans. 79 yards on 3rd and 12.
Well, the Bears had the defense. They're cover 2 here. They're going to run 2 verticals on him, but he stays tight. And so he's in a great position then to be able to make a play on that ball, but yet Devery Henderson with his speed just goes right by Major Wright. I mean, Rod Marinelli has got to be standing over there on the sideline saying, you have got to be kidding me. I mean, we don't want to give up the big play. We know that the Saints are capable of that. We have the perfect coverage on. You're in the perfect position. And he underestimated the speed of Devery Henderson. He went right by him.
How was that throw?
That was textbook throw.
And the guy who's #1 in the NFL since '07 in pass attempts, completions, pass yardage, pass touchdowns, gets another 10-7. Saints on top.
And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
3rd down and 12 did not bother number 9 as he goes 79 yards through the air to Devery Henderson to make it 10-7 Saints. And this is the first time the Saints have been on top this season. They never led at Green Bay last week on that Thursday night opener. Johnny Knox will take it out. Johnny Knox will cross the 20, knock down near the 24. How about that throw and catch? Drew Brees, a smile. He does that a lot in this dome. Major Wright gets a conference with Lovie Smith. 10-7. Let's see what the answer is from Jay Cutler and the Bears offense now trailing. Setting up a screen for Forte, and they forgot about Jabari Greer. There was a wall in front, but Jabari Greer was left alone.
You see Cameron Jordan, the rookie, against the other rookie, Gabe Karimi, the right tackle. for the Chicago Bears. Karimi's kind of an interesting guy. He was a left tackle at Wisconsin. The offensive line coach, Mike Tice, his son is third-string quarterback at Wisconsin, and so he's very familiar with Gabe before he even came into the draft. He's seen every one of his games the last 2 years. An excellent run blocker and a guy who they believe is going to be a real mainstay this offensive line for a long time.
Here's another blitz. Cutler has someone up his back, and now Cutler can't get up. The pass incomplete. And we'll take another look. Malcolm Jenkins was coming on a blitz off the edge, number 27, and Cutler never saw him.
Yeah, I think there was a miscommunication there on that left side on the offensive line, that Jay Cutler was probably expecting that entire backside to be picked up.
3rd down and 8. This pass too high for Knox. And Jay Cutler, who's already been knocked down 4 times in this game, will head off down by 3 and a 3-and-out.
And I think the knockdown had an impact on that last throw on 3rd down, because he had a good pocket and he had a route by Johnny Knox to where he could have picked up that 1st down and should have. It was a ball that just sailed on him. I think sometimes you start getting hit in the pocket like he is, and then coming off the last one where he was slow to get up, you're not quite as focused then and as confident in the pocket making some throws when you have time to make them.
Punt is hung high and a fair catch. Sproles was interfered with, and that will draw a flag. Sam Hurd, his first week active for the Bears, former Dallas Cowboy, couldn't stop himself. A clear fair catch signal by Sproles, and Sam Hurd, who was too anxious, will be penalized.
He was anxious.
Interference, number 81 of the kicking team. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. 1st down.
I talked to Sam Hurd on the field before the game, and you're right, he was anxious, Joe. He didn't want to be that anxious.
He missed week 1 with a bad ankle, and he is guilty. Great field position for the Saints up.
In cars, trucks, and crossovers.
You look at the offensive leaders for the Saints. Penalty on Hurd, interfering with a fair catch, moves the ball all the way to the Chicago 47. Brees, 10 of 12, 130 yards, completed to 6 different receivers. That includes Sproles, who picks up 2. Next week is a Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader. Troy, Pam, and I will be in Chicago. We can't wait to be there late in the afternoon. Good games early as well, with the Giants, the Eagles, the Lions, a team you like a lot, to really make a big jump here in 2011. And then late, Falcons and Bucks, a good game. And America's game of the week, the Packers at the Bears.
Everybody's jumping on the Lions bandwagon, aren't they? It's kind of nice to see, but I think a lot of it depends on the health of Matthew Stafford.
That's been an issue. Here is Thomas. David Thomas gets his first catch, a gain of 1. You look at the numbers for Brees, and he is now at 29 consecutive games with a touchdown pass. And in my opinion, as long as he stays healthy, he will just keep sliding right up that list.
And I think anytime you're on a list and the names are Unitas, Favre, and Marino, it's a list you want to be on.
Brees, whose deal that he signed to come here back in 06 is running out at the end of this year. Working on a new deal here with the Saints, and it'll be big, and it should be big, as he completes it to Jimmy Graham. Graham has got 10 and a Saints first down. And he gets up jawing with members of the Bears secondary. It has been a game plan dominated. And you know, even with the Bears defense, Troy, if you give Sean Payton, a great play caller, extra days to get ready for a defense, he'll have a good idea how he wants to beat a team.
And he's doing it without Marcus Colston, who's their best wide receiver. It just kind of tells you the kind of depth that they have there at the wideout position.
Both Gilmore and Thomas moved early.
False start, number 89, offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
You watch Drew Brees, and a lot of people have talked about, his work ethic and the way that he prepares, but I really do. I marvel watching him at practice, and even before the game here today, every time he throws a ball, there's purpose to it. He never just casually tosses a ball to someone when he's warming up. He's constantly acting as if he's going through a read and dodging somebody, and pretty impressive.
Here's Pierre Thomas to the 30. And I think it's unique when we watch practice for the Saints. Brees will complete the ball to the intended target, but then they'll have other guys behind the offense all throwing a ball to all the guys out in a route to get them used to receiving a football when they run their route.
Yeah, everybody's involved. Everybody's expected to contribute. And I asked him, how big of a loss is it going to be without Colston? He said, well, big, but we get Lance Moore back. If I lose both of those guys now, we've got some issues. But one guy goes down, someone else just steps up.
He's completed to 7 different receivers. Here's Thomas. And Pierre Thomas with a nice game down inside the 20. 12 yards knocked down by Okoye.
I think the Saints are one of the best screen teams, particularly Pierre Thomas. Now, you've got to have a quarterback that sets it up, but you also got to have a good center here or guards that are going to pull. Olin Kreutz here, this is what he does so well. He gets out, gets away from the congestion, and then makes the key block on the outside. The one support defender who's in a position to then make a play on Pierre Thomas, Olin Kreutz wipes him out. And when you have centers and guards that can run like the Saints have, you then become a good screen team.
Here is a delayed handoff to Ingram. And the rookie Ingram picks up 4. Heisman Trophy winner back in 09, rushed for over 1,600 yards. It's 17 touchdowns for the national champions, the first player from Alabama to win the Heisman.
And I think the fact that he's from Alabama, where Nick Saban was the coach and is the coach, as a guy like Sean Payton, you're then kind of excited about that because you know that the kid is going to be disciplined, you know he's going to be well coached, and you like getting guys like that from those type of programs.
Delayed handoff to Sproles. Okoye on the stop, and Darren is listed at 5'6", 190, gets 5.
And I would say right down here now, this is, if I'm the Chicago Bears, of course Sproles now is coming off the field, but the 2 guys that I would watch would be Sproles and Jimmy Graham. Watching them in practice last Friday, those were the guys getting the majority of the balls. Now Sproles not in the lineup. They're running, of course, it's 3rd and short here. We'll see if they'll run it or try to throw it again.
They toss it. Ingram cannot pick it up, and Tim Jennings off the edge, the first one to get there, and that is a nice hold by Chicago on 3rd down.
Yes, it is, and if you're going to play corner for the Chicago Bears, you better be willing to come up and make a play like that, and that's impressive because Mark Ingram, he packs a pretty good punch. But we've already seen now the Saints have tried running up the middle on 3rd and short. They tried it last week. We've seen it today. They've not had much success. Now they try to do something out on the edge. They're still not able to pick up the first down.
That is the 2nd straight 3rd and 1 red zone stop for the Bears defense against the Saints. Casey knocks it through from 29. It was Jennings, the first one getting there off the edge. He helped bring down Ingram and stop the drive. Saints up 6. There's the drive that stalled in the red zone. Casey knocked it through from 29, and so it's a 6-point Saints lead. Good game here in New Orleans, under 6 to play in half number 1. This is Devin Hester. Knox was back there the last time, and Devin Hester does not have much room to run. Lee Torrance, who made the tackle the last time, is there again for the Saints. This November, Fox Sports brings you to an epic UFC heavyweight title fight as the #1 ranked contender. Junior Dos Santos squares off with undefeated world champion Cain Velasquez. This Tuesday at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. You can hear from both fighters as Jake Laser interviews them live on Facebook.com/Fox Sports. Laser'd like to get in the octagon with him.
I don't know.
Here's Forte. Bouncing it to the edge. Nowhere to go. Plenty out there for the Saints. Vilma will get credit for the force out. And there is the day so far for Cutler, 5 of 12. And he has been hit, pressured, been flagged for intentional grounding. It's 2nd and 10.
When we talk about Drew Brees playing without Marcus Colston, Jay Cutler today, he is without Roy Williams, who reunited with Mike Martz. Had a nice game last week in that win against the Falcons.
Second down and 10. Sanzenbacher dropped immediately by Harper. Tight throw. Cutler made it a gain of 8.
Yeah, you see the Saints, they decide to bring pressure, and that's how the Chicago Bears are going to counter it. You know, Sanzenbacher's there in the slot. They bring the linebacker and the defensive back off that side. Cutler knows he's got to get it out, and he does. And they're able to get at least some positive yards on the play.
Greg Williams under fire a bit for the way this season ended last year with the Saints, losing in Seattle. Getting knocked around by Green Bay in week 1. 3rd down and 2. Over the middle, pass dropped by Devin Hester. Sat down right at the marker, could not make the catch. It's 4th down.
You know, he's got to make this catch, but Jay Cutler's got to trust protection at some point. You know, I mean, he's dropping back, and you know he never gets established. He's throwing it off his back foot when he really doesn't have to. You know, that was standing. That's a ball that has to be caught, and you've got to convert that 3rd down.
Sproles waits for the punt from Podlesh, the former Jaguar. Releasing Brad Maynard in 2011 at a fair catch up at the 35. The Saints will have it again, and we welcome you back inside our broadcast booth. And we've seen a pretty good game so far in this first half between the Saints and the Bears. What are you looking for this possession from New Orleans?
Well, I think that for the Bears anyway, defensively, right now they've actually played a pretty good first half. You know, the problem is that they had great coverage and they let Devery Henderson, you know, run right down the middle. That's the difference right now, really, in this ball game. And you know, as you look at this with 4.5 minutes to play in the half, you know, you just don't want to give up another cheap touchdown to the Saints.
That was on a 3rd down and 12. A 79-yard completion from Brees to Henderson, and now he's going up top again. And there's Jimmy Graham. Made the catch, suffered a hit from Merriweather, and picks up 31.
Well, and that's what he gives you, and again, it's against the Bears cover 2 defense. The guy who has to try to cover him was Lance Briggs. He was the only one. You're not going to be able to get Merriweather. He immediately turned to the outside because of the receiver out that way, which gave the space then for Jimmy Graham. Graham can run, you know, and because of his basketball background, you saw his ability then to go up and make the catch. Strong hands, great athletic ability, a guy that can run. I'm with Drew Brees. This guy can be as good as he wants to be.
On 1st down, they run it. It's Ingram. And the rookie gets 8. Major Wright on the stop. Major Wright, by the way, was already looking over his shoulder at Brandon Merriweather when they picked him up. Was waived by New England. And you look at the strength here, Troy, of Ingram. It took 2 to bring him down. He runs hard.
Well, he runs hard, and he doesn't hesitate. And usually with young rookie linebacker or running backs, they hesitate in the hole. They don't hit it. The holes are bigger. They're open longer in college than they are in the NFL. He doesn't do that.
Now to the right side to get knocked down. And good pressure up front by this Bears defense. Rode Urlacher, big number 54, the 7-time Pro Bowler, right in the middle of it.
You see, I mean, he's reading his keys on where the ball's going, and he's going to destroy anything in his path in order to get there. I mean, we've talked about what he has dealt with. I can't even imagine. But here's a guy who certainly is motivated to have a heck of a ball game here today.
He ran right through Olin Kreutz. Give Kreutz credit for the tackle. It's 3rd down and 5. Brees in trouble and now just flings it. Peppers had a hold of Drew Brees.
I think that's got to be intentional grounding there.
Now look at it. Did he get it back to the line of scrimmage? The answer so far is yes. It's 4th down.
Well, watch Peppers and the way he just goes right through Bushrod. Bushrod's trying to do all that he can. Peppers showing the strength that he has and being able to work through that block and still get Brees on the ground.
It would be interesting to look at that replay and see if A, he was outside of the tackle box, and B, if he got it flinging its sidearm back to the line of scrimmage. And now it's Chase Daniel at quarterback. Penalty flags fly as there was movement.
False start. Number 60. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
They get De La Puente for a false start, and whatever trick play was about to unfold, it didn't happen because of the false start.
And I wish they had not had the false start so we could have seen what they were getting ready to do. I'm not sure that Sean Payton's going to come back with it again right now.
Now it'll be a 53-yard try. They make it tougher on Casey, who was 2 for 2. Casey delivers. Not bad when you can lose Garrett Hartley to a bad hip and find John Casey out there floating around. He is still in possession of one of the biggest legs in the NFL.
Yeah, and the difference for holder Chase Daniel is because John Casey's left-footed. So he's the one, Chase Daniels that is, he's the one who's had to make the adjustment and go to the other side. And you know, those at home may say, well, how hard is that? It's very different as a holder when you're used to taking it from one side of the kicker and then having to go to the other side because he's left-footed.
Talk about Casey's career numbers. That is his 41st field goal from 50 or more yards. Chase Daniel, who had such a great career at Missouri, has ended up as the backup to Drew Brees. That can be a lonely position here in New Orleans. But he electrified the Missouri Tiger crowd for years, and he is the holder able to get it down after he was set up at quarterback for that fake that never happened. Morstead knocks it out of the back of the end zone.
What was it Drew Brees was telling us the other day in the meeting, that Chase Daniel, he's the guy who gives them all the stats and everything that's happening around the league. You know, backup quarterbacks, they've got to occupy their time doing something, you know, and apparently Daniel's taking it upon himself to keep Drew Brees informed of trends and kickoff returns and everything else happening around the league from week to week.
Watches the market for him. Gets his cleaning. 2 minutes 9 seconds left for the Bears, down with 1 timeout at their own 20. Cutler steps up, and this pass is broken up by Patrick Robinson, who gets the start. Place of Tracy Porter. Sanzenbacher's been busy. He was the intended target.
You know, he got a little bit of action last week, and so I was talking to Mike Martz about him, and I didn't get the idea that he was going to be a guy getting a lot of opportunities in this game, but he sure has. He could have helped himself. And Mike Martz, we see him up in the booth. This is the first time since '99 that he's called plays from upstairs in the coach's box. He's always been on the sidelines, of course, as a head coach, but also as an offensive coordinator.
Penalty flags as there was movement along the line. We are at 2 minutes left in the half. And this is starting to look a lot like last year for the Bears offensively.
False start, number 73, offense. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
That's Webb. There's Vilma leaving. That's a bad sight for the Saints. They put time back on the clock. So this next play will take us to the 2-minute warning. But this offensively, after a decent start and that long run by Forte, the Bears haven't done anything.
And they've got to be careful. If they don't get a first down, I mean, they're going to be giving the ball to the Saints in pretty good field position for another opportunity before the end of this half.
Cutler hits Forte, and he's back to the original line of scrimmage +1. Third down, a big one coming up for Chicago, and we come back. 2 minutes left. A 10-yard touchdown drive. Otherwise, only 23 yards offensively. Forte has that 42-yard run, but they've been shut down, and it's 3rd and 9. Extra men on a blitz, and this is Forte, room to pick it up. And he is pushed down from behind by Patrick Robinson, a gain of 15. A big conversion there for Chicago on 3rd and 9.
Well, it was, and I don't think that's where the ball was initially intended to go. They were going to throw it to the outside, but one of the things they've made philosophically is that they want to get Forte out in routes right away, and Cutler found him.
Looking for him again. He's got some room if he can get past the initial line, and he does. Forte has another first down as he gets 11.
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit earlier. Good things happen when Darren Sproles has the ball for the New Orleans Saints, and you know what we've seen over the last several years for the Bears is good things happen when Matt Forte has the ball in his hands.
Forte already over 100 yards from scrimmage, and this throw is not good for Sam Hurd. Piece of halftime is coming up. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy be along with all the scores and highlights up to the second stats. And Forte, who was looking for a new deal, is at the end of a 4-year, $3.7 million deal. If anybody is deserving of it, it's this guy who is the focus of this offense. Now Bell is in the backfield with Cutler. Cutler's going to run, has room, and slides with another Chicago first down. Under a minute to play, Bears with 1 timeout.
Boy, they tried getting Matt Forte on what they call an F post, a real staple in the offense for Mike Martz. They had him too, but Cutler got flushed and just couldn't deliver it when he wanted to.
This pass broken up. Greer, a nice play in front of Hester. But that does stop the clock with 32 seconds left at 2nd and 10.
Jabari Greer, he's got help over the top, so he's not threatened at all. He's just sitting there jumping the slant route.
Now the rookie Gabe Karimi, first-round pick out of Wisconsin, is down. So we'll take a break. 32 seconds left in the half. Him out. Looking at the right knee, they were of Gabe Karimi. Now Frank Omiel takes over at right tackle. Free agent that the Bears picked up in '09 from Carolina. He's had some time on that line. The first-round pick is down for the Bears at 2nd and 10. Forte in the slot. That's where Cutler goes, and Matt Forte takes it inside the 25.
Pretty nice job right there by Mike Martz. He goes empty set backfield. He's going to release 5 receivers into the route. They've got Matt Forte on Shanley. That's a mismatch. Cutler finds it. Big first down.
They don't clock the ball. It keeps winding and into the end zone, incomplete for Devin Hester. But now only 5 seconds remain, and the Bears have to attempt a field goal.
You see Matt Forte in the slot with the linebacker, and he runs the spin route there on the outside or in the inside, but starts to the outside back underneath and created the separation. A good job.
That was a replay at the end of Gabe Karimi, and the injury at right tackle just ended up on his back. Didn't look like much, and now Robbie Gould will try it from 42.
It's a good drive for the Chicago Bears. They're able to come away with these points.
And that big third down conversion back at the start of this drive leads to 3, and a 6-point game at the half. 16-10. The Saints on top. Piece of halftime coming up after this from your local Fox station. A good one in New Orleans. Saints. Some of the moments from the first half here in New Orleans. Here are the stats in the 16-10 game with a half to go. Total yards. Edge goes to the Saints. Time of possession as well, and the red zone trips. It's been a problem. It was last week for the Saints, and it is again here today, turning those trips into touchdowns. You can follow your favorite team all season long. Just go to iTunes.com/NFL. Bears defense and Brian Urlacher will be on the field as the Saints start the second half with the football. Darren Sproles waits for the kick from Robbie Gould. He'll take it out. And he gets walloped. Tackle was made by Dom DeSico. Undrafted free agent from Pitt. Let's go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, there's a couple of things that Lovie Smith wants. He says, first of all, defensively, we got to keep it simple. On offense, he wants a mix of what they were able to do earlier. Sean Payton, meantime, told me something they preached all week. He wants to see more energy. Look for more screens than draws in this second half. Back to you.
All right, Pam, and we'll get a chance to see what Sean Payton calls right out of the gate here in the second half, starting at the 21. Take the handoff, and it's dropped by Pierre Thomas.
You know, we've seen this Saints offense, you know, as you said, Joe, do a pretty good job in that first half, moving the ball. They had to settle for some field goals. Good job of the Bears defense tightening up. I think this is a pretty important possession here for the Chicago Bears defense to make a stand and not give up any points on this drive. I thought the points that the Bears were able to come away with was huge because of the 4 3-and-outs that we saw there in that first half. To end the first half with 3 points, I think was a good momentum shift for him.
Now Sproles doesn't get much over the right side. He gets one. Toina on the stop, and we'll look at the offensive leaders for the Saints, and maybe you have some of these guys in your fantasy league and on your team. Couldn't believe to see Sproles was picked up today in our league. I don't know how he was out there unclaimed. Shows you how little we know.
Shows you how little attention I pay to the whole thing.
It's 3rd down and 9. Blitz coming. Saints pick it up, and this one nearly picked off. DJ Moore got in front of Lance Moore and almost undercut it for an interception.
Well, we heard Howie Long talk about it at halftime about, you know, maybe the defense for the Bears was going to have to be able to make a big play, create a turnover, a takeaway. They had an opportunity there, but that was a great defensive stop by Chicago. The Saints are one of the best in the league on 3rd down. For the Bears to force a punt here in the opening possession of the second half is big.
Here's a good punt by Morstead. He knocks it out of bounds. Had good leg, good hang time, and most importantly, kept it away from Devin Hester. The Bears down by 6 will start at their own 34. Urlacher and his group, they did their job.
And by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
First offensive play, second half. Underneath, it's Forte. A nice start out to midfield. Here are the key injuries, and both these players are out. Gabe Karimi out with a bad right knee. We have no more details on it. And Earl Bennett out with a chest injury he suffered early on a hit by Roman Harper. And watch Cutler. He goes down over the body of Brave Franklin, and he got up limping. It was a 16-yard catch and run by Forte. They fake it to Forte, and they hit wide open Johnny Knox. Inside the 25, rolling to the 20.
Well, it was a good design right there by Mike Martz. You're going to see they call this a 4 route. It's a square in by Johnny Knox, but what held the underneath coverage was they had a flare control in the flat that allowed Johnny Knox to get in behind that without really anybody in the throwing lane for Jay Cutler.
One of the few downfield throws that Cutler's been able to complete. Good for 30. Cutler floats it. Forte makes the catch, but he's out of bounds. Okay, I'll be Matt Forte's agent, and you be Jerry Angelo. Okay. Hi, I'd like to talk about Matt's new deal with the Chicago Bears, Jerry. Okay. Without Matt Forte, I don't know that you have an offense, because everything, he is over 72% of their offense today, and coming in, he's number 3 in the NFL since he came into the league. With regard to catching it, running it, it goes through number 22.
Well, I think he'll get paid. It's just a matter of when.
Price may be going up. Here's one floated for the rookie. That's Sanzenbacher. Incomplete, brings up 3rd and 10.
You know, they got the man coverage the last couple of plays. They've taken their shot. They tried hitting Forte. Now they come back to Sanzenbacher on the same type of route, you know, with a fade over the top. Pretty good coverage on both of those. I'm a little surprised the Bears have gotten away from the running game the way that they've had. They've had some success running the football. Even though they've made some plays here on this possession in the passing game, they haven't run the ball as much as what, or had the balance at least in this game that I expected coming in.
It's 3rd down and 10. Cutler throws. Hester out of his reach. He was open, but too much on the throw, and Robbie Gould checks in again for Chicago.
Yeah, they go to a trip set to one side of the field, and you know, if Jay had been able to pull that thing down just a little bit, maybe you've got a shot, but then you've got a pursuing defender coming underneath it. You know, a good drive established by a couple of good passes, only to see 3 straight incompletions and having to settle for a field goal.
That attempt at 38 yards from Robbie Gould. He is just about automatic at this point in his career. One of the NFL's best. Makes it a 3-point game here in New Orleans. 5, a lot of throwing, not much running. To go back to what you talked about moments ago for the Bears in this game.
Well, and the one run that Forte had was 42 yards. On his other 8 carries, he's only gotten 7 yards. But, you know, as we all know, the running game gets better over time. Pretty big discrepancy right now between run pass with the Bears, which is something last year when you looked at what they did the second half of the season. You know, they ran the ball more than any team in football over the last 8 games of the year, and that led in a large part to why they ultimately went on to make the playoffs and have the success they had once they got in. I bet Mike Tice is down there talking about it, huh?
I think that's an interesting dynamic. Mike Tice, the offensive line coach, Mike Martz, the offensive coordinator, the architect of the greatest show on turf, like slinging around. Here's contact, no flag. And it was Adrian Arrington, the intended target, and coverage made by Tim Jennings.
Yeah, it sure looked like Jennings got there just a tick before the ball did.
Up here it did. Television's biggest night, 63rd Primetime Emmy Awards, hosted by Jane Lynch. Be there for the laughter, the surprises, the red carpet pre-show event. 63rd Primetime Emmy Awards live tonight right here on Fox. Here's Ingram. And on 2nd and 10, Mark picks up 3.
I talked about the Saints on 3rd down. The last 2 years, they have led the NFL converting on 3rd down, which is awfully impressive, and they have had a good day here again today. Not quite to the numbers to where they typically are, but the Bears have tightened up. You know, on that first possession to start this second half, made a key 3 and out, and here's another 3rd down opportunity for them to get off the field again.
Third down and 7. DJ Moore on a blitz, does not get there. Sproles picked him up, and now Sproles catches the pass, and he can only make 3 yards. It'll be 3 and out for this Saints offense.
Well, Sproles initially does a nice job of picking up DJ Moore on the blitz. Brees isn't able to find anybody. Sproles just standing there. He turns around and Drew tosses him the ball. He just says, hey, let me see what you can do with it.
Morstead on the punt. This time he does not keep it away from Devin Hester, but enough air underneath it for the fair catch. Now the Bears have it at their own 36, down by 3.
On to get NFL Mobile.
You can get coverage of every NFL game on NFL Mobile. Call *** NFL to get NFL action right on your phone. Bell in a tailback, and they run it with him, and that does nothing but lose 1.5 yards. Malcolm Jenkins and Cameron Jordan in there on the stop.
You know, we were just talking about coming out and running the football a little bit with Mike Martz, and then when you have a run like that and you lose 1 yard, it's hard to keep calling them. You know, you've got to be able to do something with them when the call is made, and you don't want to get behind on down and distance against this Saints defense.
Frank Omiel still at right tackle as the Bears have lost Gabe Karimi. Their first-round pick to a knee injury here today. Cutler is slammed from behind. Ball comes out, and the Saints have it. Knocked out by Turk McBride.
They put Kellen Davis, the tight end, to that side. He was responsible then for blocking Turk McBride, and he's a little late getting out of the stance because of the crowd noise, and he just doesn't even slow McBride down. Cutler has no idea that this guy's coming on his backside.
Jamarcus Webb, who was the 17th tackle taken in the draft a year ago. Those tackles trying to give Cutler time. He's getting frustrated on the bench. He's been under pressure all day. And with a turnover, the Saints have it, up by 3 at the Chicago 29. It's the first turnover of this game. Handoff is to Pierre Thomas, who spins his way down inside the 25, a gain of 6.
There's another look at it here. That's Kellen Davis. You know, so they put a tight end over there to try to widen the distance for Turk McBride to be able to get to Jay Cutler there on that backside. And, you know, again, crowd noise is a factor in this. A tick slow getting out of his stance. But then even once he got out of his stance, he just couldn't keep up with the speed then of Turk McBride coming off the edge. And, yeah, you could see the frustration, and rightfully so. I mean, as a quarterback, when you're getting hit as much as what Cutler has.
Fake the toss. Brees rolls right and completes it near the 10 to Adrian Arrington, who is working his way into this offense more and more. Arrington, second-year player out of Michigan. That is now the 8th different receiver Brees has completed a pass to in this game. Red zone's been a problem this season 7 times in. Today and at Green Bay, they have only 1 touchdown. First and goal from the 9. Handoff is to Ingram. Keeps his legs churning down to the 5. Second and goal. Eight and a half to go, third quarter. Ingram. You can see he's going to be their guy near the goal line, trying to pound it in. Here in 2011, he was at Green Bay 2 Thursdays ago. Here it is again to the 3. And a vicious tackle by Lance Briggs.
Well, where Mark Ingram is really good from what I've seen is not only his power but his quickness. You're going to see Bushrod, the left tackle, number 74, get pushed back. And the move right there that Mark Ingram is able to make to get back to the outside and turn what could have very easily have been a loss of yardage into something positive, I think speaks to some of the talent that he has as a runner.
Third down and goal. Brees pumps, hits, Meacham, touchdown. Second touchdown of the year for Robert Meacham, who got one at Green Bay, and he was left alone.
Well, Lance Briggs is supposed to stay on him. Drew Brees kind of baited him to the inside receiver, and it left Meacham all alone then for an easy touchdown.
So the Saints turn the turnover into 7. Cutler was hit from behind, lost the football. Turk McBride made the play. Drew Brees and Meacham capitalize. Cutler back to work. There are a couple teams in the NFC that can make it look easy moving the ball. This is one of them. Green Bay, when they're rolling, is another. They made it look easy following the Jay Cutler fumble. 7 points, and Morstead will kick it away. 10-point game in New Orleans, and Morstead almost got it through the uprights. Next week, we cannot wait to be in Chicago. Bears, Packers. It'll be a lot warmer than the last time Pam, Troy, and I were there for the NFC Championship game. That is America's Game of the Week, and a good slate of games on Fox Week 3. Packers are leading against the Panthers in their game after being down at the half, and here is Forte, good for 10. And a Chicago first down.
Now, I was talking about it a little bit earlier about Matt Forte. He's caught a number of balls there on checkdowns coming out of the backfield. And as an offensive coordinator, you're always constantly looking at, okay, do we keep it back in to help with protection, or do I get him out so that the quarterback knows he has somewhere to go with the football? There's been talk about it in Chicago throughout the offseason. They made the decision, we're going to get Forte out and have Cutler come underneath to him on some of these checkdowns. It worked last week, and we've seen a number of those plays work here today.
Forte, who is from the area, has been busy, and this one nearly picked by Jenkins. Johnny Knox, the intended receiver, and Cutler has completed only 13 passes. 8 have been to Forte. That time for Johnny Knox. Jenkins almost hopped in front.
Yeah, Cutler got away with one right there because he was leading a receiver into a lot of danger. Right there, you get a pretty good look at what Cutler's looking at, and he's got a middle safety who's staring him down and had a chance to make that play then on the ball in front of Johnny Knox.
Forte at the bottom of your screen on 2nd and 10. Cutler finds Knox, who sits down at the 45 with a Chicago first down. Big drive here for the Bears, down by 10. That one good for 15 yards.
Well, it's a good route because he's got speed. So if you can threaten the defense with speed down the field, then you're able to create a little space within some of those zones. You know, Joe, we've been talking about it, getting ready for this ball game, and you look at the Packers, or excuse me, you look at the Bears, and you went out, you got a guy like Cutler, and here now for the last couple of years, they've still not really addressed a real go-to wide receiver that Jay Cutler can really depend on week in and week out.
Here's a rare carry by Forte. They've tried to make Devin Hester that guy. Hester was good on a screen last week, but here's a guy who's supposed to be their top downfield threat, who does not have a catch all day.
I think Devin Hester, I mean, obviously he's a great athlete, he's a great return guy. He came into the league as a defensive back. I mean, the fact that he's even able to contribute as a wide receiver speaks to the type of player that he is, but he's not a go-to wide receiver.
Looking left, now over the middle. Cutler in trouble. Floats it for Forte, who was open, but he missed him. That's easy for me to say, as Jay Cutler was running for his life back there. Junior Gillette with heavy pressure in his arms on Cutler, and now a Saint player is down. There's Gillette. He stayed after him. Cutler could not hit Forte. Take a break and come back, tell you who that same player is as they look at it. It was Casillas. Jonathan able to get up and walk off the field. 3rd and 10. A blitz. Sanzenbacher cannot hang on. It just seems like more times than not, Jay Cutler is backpedaling as he throws it. He was here, and Sanzenbacher could not hang on.
Yeah, they had the man coverage, you know, and that's there. I'm not saying he's not getting hit, but what I am saying is there's times, and that being one of them, to where you plant your back foot in the ground and you deliver a tight ball, and one that a receiver can handle. And they had an opportunity there because they had the man coverage, a good route concept on the outside, and it opened Dane Sanzenbacher for an opportunity for first down.
Hodlesh hits it. Sproles hauls it in inside the 15. Let's go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
Well, the Green Bay Packers were down at halftime, but they have been rolling here in the third. They scored 10 points in the first 4.5 minutes, including this 49-yarder from Aaron Rodgers to Greg Jennings. Their defense has stepped up, and all 3 times Carolina's had the ball, they forced a turnover in the second half. 3 picks so far for Cam Newton, Joe, Troy, and Pam.
All right, Kurt, thanks. Green Bay is doing what they expected at Carolina. They're trying to head to 2-0. The Bears are 1-0 here against the Saints, who started with a loss. Tight ends have been shut out for Chicago, and the Saints have it at their own 13. That's Meacham, who had the touchdown the last time New Orleans had it. The Saints up by 10.
Well, they're pretty methodical offensively. I mean, you watch the Saints for a number of years now, and then this year, and no matter how it's going or what's happening during the course of the game, they never panic, you know, and it's primarily because of Drew Brees and then also Sean Payton. They just have confidence that they're going to figure out what a defense is doing, and eventually they're going to take advantage of it. And more times than not, that's what happens.
Brees completing passes at 76%. And a nice run by Pierre Thomas, getting a first down. Under 4.5 to play, 3rd quarter. And a first down for the Saints. Right now, New Orleans without Chris Ivory on the physically unable to perform list. He was their leading rusher last year. Pierre Thomas played in only 6 games because of an ankle injury. That was a year ago. completion to Jimmy Graham in the area of a hold. Well, Coleman going over the call. And now we'll give it to us.
Holding, number 77 on the offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
That's Carl Nix, who, by the way, during the week was sent for an MRI because he was complaining of headaches. He was dinged at Green Bay. They wanted to make sure there was nothing more there, nothing in the category of a concussion. Cleared to play and guilty of that hold to bring up 1st and 20.
Had a Pro Bowl year last year there at left guard, and then of course Jari Evans at right guard, also a Pro Bowler, and that was another reason why Olin Kreutz was excited about coming here to New Orleans, getting the chance to play alongside those two guys.
Brees completes to Henderson, and a nice catch going up in front of Charles Tillman. A gain of 12.
Yeah, it really was, and Devery Henderson, a ball that's behind him, but these receivers, all of them really, do a great job of adjusting to the ball. A ball that was behind him, but rather than not being able to come back and make a play on that, he's able to, because a lot of times you watch Drew Brees in practice, he's making throws that sometimes you'd think are not real accurate throws, but he's doing it on purpose so they'll get used to making the adjustment to the ball.
2nd and 8. Trying to set up a screen for Sproles. It's not there, and of course Urlacher sniffed it out. Henderson, by the way, had 6 catches, 100 yards in the opener at Green Bay. He was kind of unheard from down the stretch last year for New Orleans. Last 5 games last season, a total of 7 catches. So after that 100-yard debut at Green Bay, he has a 79-yard touchdown catch in this game. Now back-to-back 100-yard receiving days.
Yeah, they felt that he came into camp ready to go and had a solid preseason, and coming off of a somewhat disappointing season last year. Yeah, if he can elevate his play, look out.
Here's Jimmy Graham. And that big weapon with a first down out to the 39 and a 1st and 20 doesn't bother Drew Brees.
It's almost not even fair when you take a guy the kind of size that he has and to do what he's able to do.
Look at Jay Cutler down at the 35-yard line all by himself, arms crossed. And people read into his body language more than maybe any player in the NFL. But you cannot look at him and say that with the pressure he's been under, the hits he's taken the last 2+ years, that he is not thoroughly frustrated with his protection. As Pierre Thomas carries it forward for 3.
Well, as much as he's been hit in the pocket today, I think I'd be standing down there by myself too. It's the only time he gets any time alone.
He's at the 32 only because he can't go any farther. That's the box.
I will tell you, when I was playing, I'd be standing right where he was, and not because I was frustrated or upset, but I just, I wanted to watch the game, and when you get down to one end, then you're able to watch it without being in the way of all the defensive coaches that are trying to make their calls while the defense is on the field.
2nd down and 7. Fake throw and a handoff to Thomas Briggs on the hit. I'm not in your way up here in the booth. Are you okay? You got enough space?
Well, I mean, if you could slide down about 5 yards, it would be appreciated.
Schwabe, and Svita, and Steve Horn, and you're by your lonesome. 3rd down and 5 with a minute to go. Quarter number 3. Brees completes to Graham. And that big body tight end runs right through Major Wright, who cannot get up. That was a scary hit with his head down.
See, Graham, as he turns around, you're right, he comes right in low with his head down. Couldn't tell if his initial contact was with his helmet. It sure was. That's always dangerous. You know, when you talk to these young kids, they're constantly telling them, keep your head up.
They teach you to see what you hit. And Major Wright just hope he's okay. Well, they look at him. We'll go for a game break. Here is Kurt Menefee.
Second week in a row, Detroit's Matthew Stafford has thrown 3 touchdown passes. Second week in a row, 2 of them gone to Calvin Johnson, and they are cruising over Kansas City 27-3. Joe, Troy, and Pam, the Lions making people believe that offseason hype may be warranted.
Yeah, I'll say. Meanwhile, our attention here is on Major Wright, who thankfully was just able to move his legs, which got a reaction from the crowd here at the Superdome. It's another one of those moments in an NFL game where you hold your breath and pray that the guy down on the field is okay. And now he's able to get up to a seated position.
Well, we talk about player safety all the time, Joe, and certainly here in recent years, a number of rules have been put into place to try to help with player safety, and oftentimes as defensive players, they think that's happening in order to protect the offensive players, but it really is for both sides of the ball, as we just saw. I mean, they tell you you can't lead with the crown of your helmet and do some of those types of things, and there's reasons for that. It's just as dangerous for these defensive players as what it is for an offensive player who's absorbing the blow.
It's the right leg of Jimmy Graham, who is 6'6", 260. And thankfully, Major Wright is able to get up and walk off. So he says he's okay, and Major Wright, who got the start, mentioned that he'd been looking over his shoulder at Brandon Merriweather when the Bears picked him up, cut by New England. 2-time Pro Bowler, but Chris Harris is out with a bad hamstring, so Major Wright started at free safety, Merriweather at strong safety. We'll have to go one more deep on the back end now in that Chicago defense. That'll do it for quarter number 3. Another good drive being put together by the Saints as they lead it by 10. Into the 4th we go. Back after this from your local Fox station. Drew Brees came to New Orleans from San Diego in 06. In the last year of his deal, that was a 6-year, $60 million contract. Nice money, but it will go up. Great money, but it will go up. Give me that look. You know what I mean?
Come on now.
Michael Vick just got his big deal done. Brees seems to be next. They don't want to see a lot of that. Jay Glazer is our information man in Los Angeles, best in the business. Jay, you have anything on the contract status of Drew Brees?
Actually, you know, Tom Condon, his agent, flew out this past week to meet with the team face-to-face. And then yesterday I talked to Tom. He told me he's planning on calling the Saints tomorrow morning. He wants to continue, keep the open dialogue, and try to hash something out as soon as he can.
You know, his head coach, Sean Payton, just got a new deal. He is signed here and locked in through 2015. Those two have worked so well together that one seems to go with the other. As another pass is completed to Jimmy Graham, and as that dialogue continues, it seems like, and we met with Brees on Friday, he doesn't seem bothered by the situation at all.
No, and you know, I talked to Sean about it yesterday, and he said, look, I specifically try to stay out of it. Do I think he'll get a contract? Of course he will. I think, you know, I can't picture myself being here without Drew Brees, but I'm trying to stay as far away from this thing as I possibly can. But he knows he's my guy.
You have him on speed dial yet, Brees or Payton, or who you got?
Oh, I got Buck, Aikman, Johnson, Bradshaw, not Strahan.
He just doesn't ever use it.
Here is Ingram trying to break loose. He's to the 20. Jay, thanks for your time. And Steltz making the tackle in for the injured Major Wright as Ingram converts finally on a 3rd and 1. He picked up 12.
Took it right to the heart of the defense. Olin Kreutz there at center. See some of the power that he still possesses right there in the middle, and that's right where they took the ball with Mark Ingram. This is a nice drive that we're seeing from the New Orleans Saints.
How about even that subtle shift to the ball by Mark Ingram right in the hole. And a first down at the 20. A jump ball, a jump pass, and Nick Roach almost jumped in front of David Thomas. Let's go down to Pam Oliver for a report on Major Wright.
Yes, you saw Major Wright go into the locker room. He is out, Joe, with some sort of head injury. Back to you.
Yeah, thankfully it's not a neck. And it seemed like he got up and it was more in the category of a concussion or some sort of head trauma and not the neck after that hit on Jimmy Graham. Second and 10. Here is Ingram. And Ingram carries a tackler, Tim Jennings, for a gain of 8.
Mark Ingram, a lot of good stuff here on this run. I mean, he really helps the offensive line. He starts off tackle. You can see him on this angle here. And then as soon as he sees that it's bottled up, he bounces it to the outside. And then the way that he finishes, and I think that's the thing that's most impressive from what I have seen of him up to this point. They're trying to take the ball away from him. You see him just keep his legs going, and he's able to pick up really positive yards after contact.
Another long, sustained drive against the Bears defense. 14th play of this drive. Sproles with Streif in front for the touchdown. Zach Streif was paving the way, and Sproles looks like he steps out prior to getting it in.
Yeah, they'll be taking a look at that.
They take a look at every scoring play, and this one, it seems, will come back to the 1. Right there.
Yeah. Still holding them up. They're gonna let it go.
They're gonna let it go. Well, it looked like Sproles stepped out. They call it a touchdown. 3 touchdown passes in the game for Brees. Up 17 to the Saints.
Journey, the search engine for the real world.
What a big addition Darren Sproles is from a year ago. He has already provided the Saints more than Reggie Bush was giving them. Bush, by the way, with a good debut for the Dolphins. But Sproles is able to be utilized in so many different ways by Sean Payton, one of the more creative play callers in the NFL. Let's go back to the touchdown. Take a look at why we thought he had stepped out of bounds at the 1. All scoring plays are reviewed, so from the replay official, in his opinion, he wasn't out, but in our opinion, he was. Either way, it is the 36th time that Drew Brees has thrown 3 or more touchdown passes in a game. Sproles gets his first.
And they like to use him in a lot of different ways, obviously, but they especially like him down there in the red zone like we saw in that last play. That was designed. Zach Streif was downfield blocking. They got the swing to him in for the touchdown.
Cutler with a quick throw behind Sam Hurd. And Cutler's just getting rid of it. And you look at the offensive leaders for Chicago. The day for Cutler. Matt Forte, as usual, busy. And Sanzenbacher is among the wide receivers. The biggest threat so far today. Hester does not have a catch. Knox does. That graphic was wrong as Cutler over the middle completes, and there he is, his first. Devin Hester Now shows what he can do in the open field as Hester picks up 17. Patrick Robinson on the stop.
Yeah, that's one of those plays that I was talking about that's really a staple within Mike Martz's offense, and they've been running it a lot of different ways. And they've had some opportunities for it. They've hit it sometimes with some different players running those same routes, and then other times they've failed to complete some of them. But a lot of those throws on those crossing routes underneath have been there throughout this game.
Trying to set up a screen. They do good blocking and a nice lane for Forte. Was cut down out of bounds after a gain of 21 yards.
Yeah, Roberto Garza, the center, he just does a nice job of getting a body on the ground, and that's what allowed then Forte to have an open running lane. And you're right, Joe. without Forte, there's not a whole lot of offense going on in this one.
Khalil Bell comes in to spell Forte. It's the third career 100-yard receiving day for Matt Forte. And a false start by Omiel, the right tackle.
False start, number 68, offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
He's playing in place of the injured Gabe Karimi, first-round pick out of Wisconsin, who went down with a right knee injury.
Well, as much as you try to practice crowd noise during the week, you really can't. I mean, teams bring out speakers and turn up the music and all that kind of stuff, but you just can't really simulate what it's like when you get out here on game day, and especially for someone who just came off the bench, probably a little anxious to begin with, and can't hear the count coming from Jay Cutler.
This is a defense for the Saints playing without their top rush end, Will Smith. Game 2 served today of a 2-game suspension. And this is no catch by Kellen Davis. He was out of bounds. It looked like Cutler was just getting rid of it, throwing it away, and Davis was there at the end of this floating pass. Could not get that right foot down. Brings up 2nd and 15. And Matt Forte is back in the game.
Ain't got covering.
With more than one. Another screen, and right there to break it up was Cedric Ellis.
Well, they tried to make it look like they were going to run the screen to the right, the offensive right. Everybody comes out here, and they're going to slip then Forte back underneath all of that. The only problem was they didn't fool the Saints.
3rd down and 15. Casillas, another sack.
Well, Jamarcus Webb, he's the left tackle. They've got Casillas, who lines up on the outside, and you just completely turn him loose. Looked like maybe Chris Williams, the guard, was going to try to pull out and pick that up, but just not a real good design there in protection when you've got a linebacker free like that, and you've got enough people to block it up, and he has a free run at the quarterback.
Under 10 to go. Podlesh with another punt. Hangs it high, and Sproles will try and return it. Good coverage downfield by Zach Bowman. Cuts him down inside the 10. It has been a long day for Jay Cutler. Under heavy pressure, ex-coach flinging the towel. I mean, this is a guy in Cutler who suffered personal attacks on his toughness last year. And to me, they look like the same team offensively, with holes in their offensive line and no legitimate downfield threat at wide receiver.
Well, I think coming in, I mean, obviously you lose Olin Kreutz. I thought their offensive line was better. The loss of Lance Lewis last week certainly hurt them. Gabe Karimi today. And so now you're back to where you were last year, just shuffling a lot of different bodies around. Mike Tyson's going to have another long week this week, getting him ready to go.
Here's Pierre Thomas, who hangs on to the ball. Nick Roach on the stop.
But I agree with you. I mean, really, for quite some time now, I thought if you go out and you get a guy like Jay Cutler, that's great. But I don't care what quarterback it is you talk about. The ones that you would consider great players have great players around them. You know, there's always somebody that's helping them out and can do a lot of good things. And yeah, when you think about the Bears over the years, they really haven't. Their last 1,000-yard receiver was Marty Booker in 2002. I mean, that tells you how long it's been since they've really had an elite receiver. And I'm not even sure I'd put Marty Booker in that category as an elite receiver.
False start, number 64, offense. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Last year, the Bears were led in receptions by Johnny Knox among the wide receivers with 51 catches. He was tied with Matt Forte, who caught the ball out of the backfield. They have a great running back, in my opinion. They have a difference maker at running back, but they don't have much more around Jay Cutler, and you can see his frustration building. This is not just from today. This is from the last 2+ years.
Yeah, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. There's a lot of pressure on Jay Cutler throughout the offseason coming into this year.
Absolutely, with the way it ended last year. Moore, the intended receiver. Brees gets thrown down at the end of it, no flag. With Okoye back there. Number 91 picked up by the Bears. And that's the end of the play, no flag. And a guy who was the number 10 overall pick, Okoye, released by Houston, picked up by the Bears.
You know, I see some hits like that and the crowd reacts and they want a flag, and I think of some of the hits that I took that chin busted wide open, stitches, and there's nobody even thought about throwing a flag. You know, I mean, it's crazy how much the game has changed in the way that these guys are protected.
Now a delay of game.
Delay of the game, offense, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
But we had Bradshaw with us in the preseason when we were doing that Eagles-Steelers game in Pittsburgh, and he was talking about these rule changes and increasing the player safety. That's in one category. Changing the way the game's played or how the quarterback is protected sometimes with the ticky-tack touches for flags is in another category.
Yeah, hey, we're all for player safety. It's a fine line, there's no doubt.
And it's 3rd and 15. In the end zone, Brees is happy to get rid of it. A good job by the Bears defense. Thomas, the intended receiver, and Brees was close to going down with a safety.
I think overall the Bears defense in general, you'd say, is probably had a decent afternoon. You know, not too bad. They gave up the big play, as we talked about, to Devery Henderson, and but the turnover that the Bears had offensively, it gave the Saints a short field, led to a touchdown. Overall, I think the Bears, against a really good offensive unit, have held up okay.
Good time for Morstead to hit a booming punt over the head of Devin Hester. With 8:11 to go, the Bears and Jay Cutler will start at their own 39.
Pizza Hut.
Bears start at their own 39. Down 30-13. There goes Cutler to the turf again. And it was Junior Gillette, a loss of 9.
Not a lot anybody could do with that. You know, you see Cutler, he can't step up. He's got pressure off the edge. Just a jailbreak.
Guys are coming in almost untouched from the defensive line, and that's Greg Williams. Loves bringing pressure. And there's the pressure that Cutler's been under today. A rebound effort by the Saints defense after a rough one in Green Bay. 2nd and 19. Cutler on a screen. Why not? What a play by Jenkins. And this has a chance as we welcome you inside our broadcast booth after this replay of the tackle by Malcolm Jenkins of getting pretty ugly with the kind of pressure that Jay Cutler has been under in the hits he's taking from the Saints defense.
Well, I think you got to give this defense for the Saints a lot of credit. We came into the game saying that, hey, there was pressure on this defense after that playoff loss last year, last week's game against the Packers, and on Greg Williams, and they've responded. I mean, this group has played well.
Empty backfield, quick throw too high for Sanzenbacher. 3 and out with a sack mixed in.
Well, I'll tell you, Jenkins came in and put a pretty good lick there. Couldn't tell exactly where he hit him, but it sure looked like a defenseless receiver. See on the end of this, after the ball got hit or tipped, that is.
That was close.
That look.
Close up around the head. No flag. Modlesh hits it. Sproles sprints to the sideline and a good punt. Brees and the offense will have it at their own 21. You look at the total yards. Chicago offense has been shut down here in this second half. Saints are 6 minutes and 46 seconds away from the first win of the year. Barring major mistakes. Now down the sideline, dropped by Pierre Thomas, and we go back to that hit on Sanzenbacher.
This was after the ball was tipped. You're going to see Malcolm Jenkins here, and the hit that he puts on Sanzenbacher. I mean, that's classified as a defenseless receiver, and yet he still came in with the helmet. When the contact was made, should have drawn a flag. Some would say, well, the ball was tipped, but a tipped ball does not change the fact that it was a defenseless receiver, and you can't then hit him like that.
2nd and 10. Meacham has a touchdown in this game, and a nice play out on the edge by Jennings. A loss of 3. The clock continues to run. And right now, offensively for the Saints, the way their defense is playing against Chicago, they just have to be thinking, if we don't turn the ball over, we cruise to a win here over the Bears, because offensively the Bears are doing nothing.
And I think that you'd say, well, just run the ball, but Sean Payton has so much confidence in Drew Brees, and Drew Brees understands the situation so well that he's going to try to complete the underneath things, the safe high percentage passes, keep the clock running as best he can. And so in a lot of ways, it's like a running game.
The clock winding down, they take a timeout. First of the half for either one taken. Today, following football, Fox Sports is proud to bring you exciting coverage of the Barclays Premier League as Manchester United takes on Chelsea in a match between two of soccer's greatest teams. Coverage begins later today following football in high definition on Fox. Check local listings for the start time in your area. Gone head-to-head in the Premier League, 38 matches. Chelsea's won 13 of them. They've tied 14 times. And from what I understand, it is going to be an unbelievable game. That's after football. 3rd down and 13. With under 6 to play, the Bears need 3 scores. To make something big happen here in New Orleans today. Sproles brought down from behind. And it was Okoye who made the stop. A gain of just 2. And the Bears will take their first timeout with 5:41 left. Brian Urlacher was talked about. He visited with Michael Strahan. A taped interview earlier in the week on our pregame show, and Urlacher, who found out on Monday that his mother, at the age of 51, Voida Leonard, passed away in her home in Texas. Brian has a brother Casey and an older sister, Sherry, grew up in New Mexico, Lovington, New Mexico, and it's been a long week. He said he was supported by 2 families, the other one being his family with the Chicago Bears, and he answered the bell here today for the Chicago defense. And I'm with you. I think this defense for Chicago has played pretty well, all things considered. The problem is Jay Cutler has not had room to breathe, let alone complete anything, hardly downfield. And the frustration has boiled over a couple of times on the sideline for Cutler.
Well, he's been under a lot of pressure, as we've seen, and some of that certainly on the offensive line, some of it on the receivers, and an inability then to get open, and some of it, quite frankly, is on Jay Cutler. And there's times when you got to get the ball out of your hands.
Omiel jumped again.
False start, number 68, offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
You look at the key injuries today for Chicago. Lovie Smith will wonder about these guys after the game. Gabe Karimi with a right knee injury. Earl Bennett, a hit from Roman Harper into the chest, knocked him out early. And Major Wright, when he went down, it's just nice to see him get up and walk off. 1st and 15. Cutler steps up and slings it to Sanzenbacher for a first down. Gain of 17.
It is pretty interesting, though, in this league, Joe. Last week's win over the Atlanta Falcons, everybody's talking about, what a great win that was, and it was. It was a nice team victory, and it's a week-to-week league. After this game, everybody's going to be questioning, well, just how good are the Bears, And we'll get a better idea again next week.
And they're at home against Green Bay. Cutler fell down and somehow completes it to Sam Hurd. While he fights for extra yardage, takes a couple of extra hits. Harper on the stop, a completion of 14 yards.
Well, Sam Hurd threw the ball out of bounds in order to stop the clock because he couldn't get to the sideline, and they went ahead and stopped the clock, which they shouldn't have done.
Should have stopped him with forward progress while inbounds and kept the clock running, but they did not. Now it's Jamarcus Webb's turn to move too early.
False start, number 73, offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Another false start. Jay Cutler, his first game ever inside this Superdome. Bears have been dealing with the noise and with this pass rush, which has been relentless from New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, this is not an easy place to play, as we all know, and that's why I say I don't know what exactly we can conclude about this Bears team coming off of this game.
Cutler throws it up. His back foot was under pressure. Hurd, the intended receiver. Hester close to it, but incomplete. Next week it's a Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader, week 3. There are the early matchups, good ones, considering actually how both the Lions and Vikings are playing today. Giants and Eagles late, America's game of the week. The Packers and the Bears, Falcons at the Bucks. And that starts with a Built Ford Tough Fox NFL Sunday pregame show at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific at 2nd and 15.
Oh, the Packers were in a dogfight with the Carolina Panthers today.
Looks like they just won their dogfight as Cutler flips it out of the reach of Khalil Bell. Penalty flag is on the ground, and it's against Chicago. It's like an offensive pass interference. Green Bay just got a long touchdown from Jordy Nelson, and they are on their way to a 2-0 start.
Looks like Chicago may get called for an offensive pick.
Pass interference, number 18, offense. That penalty's declined. Third down.
Right at the top there is where contact was made. You know, a lot of that happens in this league, but you just can't be quite so obvious about it there, Dane.
So rookie Sanzenbacher, an undrafted free agent out of college at Ohio State. He has been busy. Really the main target other than Forte for Cutler today. Everybody's coming. Cutler sacked for the 4th time today. Jolan Dunbar was in there, and now they start to fight. Omiel and Dunbar get into it. Roman Harper in on the sack as well, and remarkably no flags are thrown.
Well, it's a 3-man route. They're going to leave 7 guys in on protection. It's just of the 3 guys running the routes, there was nowhere to go with it. I mean, good coverage all the way around. Cutler was on his back by the time Hester got that far down the field.
I mean, Hester's so far down the field with everybody coming. There's no chance. And Dunbar gets shoved by Cutler, and Omiel came in for Cutler's defense. The Chicago Bears have to call their 2nd timeout. Let's look at the upcoming schedule, by the way. We know that they're playing Green Bay. The Bears, first 3 weeks, according to last year's winning percentage across the NFL, first 3 weeks, the toughest schedule across the NFL. Start-wise, but the rest of the way, weeks 4 through 17, the 4th easiest. And they will be in London against Tampa Bay right around World Series time here in the U.S.
Yeah, I'm not so sure, though. I mean, when you look at that and you see Carolina, who, you know, is probably a lot better than what we initially thought that they might be. They took Green Bay to the wire, you know, here today in this game. And then, of course, Detroit. And Detroit's playing a lot better. I don't want to say better than anybody thought, but when you first look at the schedule, I'm not sure you're putting Detroit where they're playing at right now.
I believe Greg Williams will bring guys. He does. Cutler goes down again. Jenkins and Harper, the 2 safeties, and the celebration is on. And this is a mess on the offensive line for the Bears right now.
Well, and what's going to happen is Green Bay Packers are going to see this. Kellen Davis, the tight end, he doesn't pick up anybody. You know, I mean, Casillas is in coverage on him. Kellen Davis is staying in to protect, and he lets Roman Harper run right by him. And then you've got Khalil Bell. He doesn't do much either. And so a lot of times you say, well, March isn't keeping enough people in. Well, yes, he is, but sometimes the guy who's in the block has to actually block. But they're going to get another heavy dose of this next week by the Packers because they see what they didn't handle very well in this game, and they're going to keep getting it until they do handle it.
It was a 4th down play as Ingram fights inside the 25. You don't think Dom Capers will dial up any blitzes?
No, I mean, probably not. I mean, he may go easy on him. Huh?
No chance for a guy, Cutler, who has been sacked 5 times for the 2nd consecutive week. And he's out there on the sideline now, seated, trying to stretch out his neck. 52 times he was sacked last year. Most in the NFL. 2nd and 8. Ingram lost the football. And Tillman picks it up. Looked like Tillman may have knocked it out. And so he forces and recovers that fumble by Ingram.
See where he had the ball. You know, he's got a position pretty good. It was just, and this guy's, hey, he's one of the best. Charles Tillman is one of the best at knocking the ball out and creating, you know, turnovers.
He forced one.
Forced it and recovered it.
Forced one last week against Atlanta.
Yeah. I think the only guy unhappy about that is Cutler. He's got to come back out and take some more punishment.
Just a moment ago on that 4th down play, he got hit across the head. His chin strap bends up on his mouth. Could make a case to bring in Caleb Haney and let Cutler sit the rest of this one out. Live to fight another day. Here they come again. Now they back out. Doesn't matter. Gillette comes in untouched. I mean, this is ridiculous.
They've got no answers for it.
That's 3 straight sacks against the Bears.
Well, watch. I mean, he's just coming off the ball. He's a down lineman. He's got his hand down. He's coming. You know, and if you can't turn protect that with Jamarcus Webb, or if you're not going to do that, then the ball has to come out. But you can't hold on to the ball and then have 3 rushers at the quarterback, and that's what we've seen throughout this second half.
You saw Greg Williams. He's been under fire this week for the performance of his defense. He's still coming. He's now backing out of it, a quick throw, and Cutler's just trying to get rid of it in the direction of Hester. And this is one defeated offense here today.
Yeah, when you're a quarterback and you're in a game like this, it just feels like the defense has 15 guys on the field. You know, I mean, they're coming from all over, and then when you do finally get a little bit of protection, you can't find anybody open. And that's what Greg Williams has created here this afternoon.
They show them all up at the line again. Low snap, a blitz, and Cutler just throws it away. And Casillas was bearing down on him. Now the punt team will come out for Chicago, and Cutler's going, what am I supposed to do? Roman Harper and he, few words, and Cutler. I think we'll have to, part of him is going to have to hope that the Saints can just run out this clock. Podlesh from the back of the end zone. Nearly blocked. Courtney Roby almost got in there for a block and a fair catch. Called for by Sproles. Here is a recap. The early touchdown to Sanzenbacher, and since then, for the most part, it's been all New Orleans, especially defensively, as Cutler has been under heavy pressure. Here's a touchdown on a catch and run by Sproles. And then just an overwhelming effort up front by the New Orleans Saints defense. There are the numbers, some of them 6 sacks. And plenty of hits on Cutler for New Orleans. Now Pierre Thomas gets it and pushes the pile for 4.
Well, I do think, like we talked about, Joe, coming into the game, you know what you're going to get from the Saints offensively. You know, they're about as consistent as they come around the league, and defensively, that's been kind of the unknown. You know, you think about the Super Bowl win that they had a couple of years ago. The defense created a lot of takeaways. We're not real good at stopping people. Last year they were, but that playoff game was a disaster. And then last week, I just think they came into this game today under a lot of pressure to have a good game, and they were able to do that.
And they'll get there well. And they'll get, Troy, their best defensive end rusher back next week when they're at home against Houston. 2 minutes left here in New Orleans. Ingram, there are their touches and their numbers. 2nd down for the Saints. Thomas is in the ball game. Brees has thrown for 273, touchdowns, no interceptions. Devery Henderson, 3 catches, over 100 yards, a touchdown. And as we wind down here in New Orleans, the producer of today's game is Richie Zients. The director is Rich Russo. Jake Jolivet, Rich Gross are the associate directors. Steve Horn, our editorial consultant. Broadcast associate Bentley Elliott. Studio show produced by Bill Richards, directed by Bob Levy, and of course my thanks to Dave Schwalbe and Ed Sfida, the spotter and statistician here in the booth, with under a minute and a half to go. Ingram now in at tailback on 3rd and 4. He gets it. It'll be brought down short. It's 4th down. And Troy, while we've talked so much about the defense and the 6 sacks for the Saints, by the way, they've scored 64 points through 2 games. They're coming off, by their standards, a down year offensively in 2010. But that Super Bowl year, they averaged over 30 points a game. So they're rolling now offensively as they'll take on Houston next week.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the makeup of this team, you know, a lot of guys have been a part of this team for a number of years now, on both sides of the ball. And so that really helps. I mean, offensively, they know what the standard is. You know, Sean Payton is able to keep things going offensively as far as what they want to do within their schemes. Of course, Drew Brees, and defensively as well. That's one of the reasons why this team has come out of the blocks playing like they've been able to. And I think if you're a Saints fan, or even if you're within this organization, you know, that game Thursday night at Lambeau against the defending world champions, and to take them to the wire and say, really, I mean, this is the world champs, and yet we went with them toe to toe. I mean, I think they came, although disappointed they didn't win, they came out of that game saying, hey, you know, we're the team that we think that we are, and we can play with anybody in this league.
Saints will try to pick it up on 4th down. See if up front they can do it, and they can. Ingram picks it up, and that'll do it. It's been fun having you with us. Ingram gets the 1st down, and that'll be the end of the day. 30-13 is the final. Olin Krug's 13 years a Chicago Bear, now one of the captains for the Saints, and he comes out on top in this matchup. And this long week for Brian Urlacher is over. He can exhale and get ready for a home game against Green Bay late next Sunday at Soldier Field. Each team will come out of here with a record of 1-1. We'll take our final break and come back here, wrap up our day, as you look at a long one to Devery Henderson. Meacham had a touchdown. Sproles had a touchdown reception. Brees with 3 touchdown passes, 270 yards, and no interceptions. And we saw that look a lot from Jay Cutler, who had a rough day with a lot of pressure and not much down the field. So the Bears go home, and they have a divisional game against Green Bay, and the Saints will travel back to their practice facility, get ready for a home game against the Houston Texans next Sunday. Olin Krug has a moment to see some old friends. Used to block for Matt Forte alongside Frank Omiel and others. And a guy who was a real emotional leader, a tough guy in their locker room, getting hugs as the Saints make their way off the field with their first win of the year. We'll come back here to the Superdome after the break. It's a 17-point win for the